sit here.
Thank you. Patrice, thank you so much for being here.
It's an absolute pleasure.
We were just listening to Jeremy in that panel speaking about global investments and the returns that need to happen on the continent. You are someone that really embodies that. You have invested in various sectors, financial services, mining, of course, telecoms. Where have you seen the most returns on the continent?
Well, and thanks for the good work that you do, Bloomberg, and it's wonderful to have everybody here. I visited about 45 countries over the last few years as part of the philanthropic passion we have on the football side. And if you go to Davos and have discussions here and attend various meetings, there's a lot of discussions about what's happening on the continent. But what really excites me is when you see the entrepreneurs, and most of whom are small businesses, the innovation, the creativity, whether it's in Lagos, whether it's in Kinshasa, whether it's in Cairo, whether it's in Morocco, whether it's in South Africa, Kenya. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, entrepreneurial investments, jobs, improvement of living conditions. And we at times look at the big global companies, the multinational corporations that are either based in America or in Europe. And I think to a large extent the same applies to the South African portfolio managers and those who invest in some of the biggest companies in South Africa and in the rest of the world. And of course their risk profile is significantly different because they don't have to invest in any particular country or continent. They look for the most competitive countries where the risk is low or acceptable and the returns are very high. So if you talk about what you were referring to in terms of which industries am I most excited about, I like when you talk about industries because that's relevant, but it's always about the companies.
Specific companies.
The businesses that invest in those industries, because it's about the management, it's about the CEO, it's about the specific countries within which those companies operate. So we are in 38 countries through Sanlam in our partnership with Allianz, so financial services. We're doing exceptionally well. We've got a bank here, Time Bank, that has got 12 million clients, and we made a huge investment in the Philippines. And then, of course, we're involved in mining. We have a very exciting renewable company, African Rainbow Energy and Power, and the CEO is most probably one of the most knowledgeable executives on the continent. He was the CEO of Eskom, Brian Damas. And we've made a lot of investments in telecommunications, in technology, and agriculture. But Africa is exciting.
But so it's not sector specific. What do you look for when you're trying to find the next time bank? Let's say if you're interested in data centers and AI, what is it that you're looking for? Is it the personnel? Is it, give us a sense of what ARM or ARC is looking for.
Well, African Rainbow Minerals has got 30,000 employees in manganese, iron ore, PGMs, and there's a mining company. And of course, in the mining industry, it's all about grade, it's about cost of production, it's about cash flow, it's about dividends, it's about the performance of the share price. African Rainbow Minerals is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And we merged our company called ARM Gold with Harmony. And Harmony's got about 50,000 employees and is doing exceptionally well. Copper mines in Australia. There's a huge investment that we are currently looking at in Papua New Guinea. That may require, we've got a partnership there with Newmont that might require as much as $4 or $5 billion to be invested down the line.
Is that what you're planning on doing?
Well, we'll be there for the long term. I mean, copper, if you look at the energy transition, if you look at the green economy, climate change will forever be with us, will forever be a challenge. And copper, as well as some of the minerals that we have that we are mining in South Africa, are very important for the green economy, the transition. We're also trying to get a balance because many of our investments tended to be long-term. I mean, some people are good at making money overnight. I unfortunately have a lot to learn in that regard.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
So we tend to do reasonably better with a 3, 5, 7, and 10-year perspective.
Can I ask you about copper versus gold? Because this year we've been looking at the price of gold. I imagine that's been quite a boon for Harmony Gold and for your investment there. But you mentioned copper. In the long term, are you looking at maybe which mineral might potentially be more beneficial to the business?
Gold is a very cyclical business. I mean, over the last few years, it's done exceptionally well. And we started with 22% equity in Harmony when we merged ARM Gold with Harmony. And over the years, the gold mining industry has experienced enormous challenges, and that's why we have to diversify. But again, we'll always be in gold. And it has done exceptionally well. The price has gone through the roof. The central banks are buying gold disproportionately. And but our objective has always been to look at gold from a medium to long-term perspective. We're getting good dividends. We've got about 20 billion rand in fact, we've got 13 billion rand of cash, and we've got facilities of an extra 7 billion. And a lot of that money is going to be used in part of it in Australia and part of it in Papua New Guinea. But Australia and Papua New Guinea is primarily copper because, from an African perspective as well as from a shareholder perspective, you've got to look at those, and when you talk about mining, those commodities where you've got a comparative as well as a competitive advantage. So we'll stay invested in copper and gold, and in South Africa, we will continue investing in PGMs and huge investments in iron ore as well as manganese. So
you do think there is a substantial future for mining in South Africa?
Without a doubt. In South Africa and on the continent, but we've got shareholders all over the world, and part of our obligation is to have a geographic diversification. So African Rainbow Minerals has invested in a copper company in Canada, Surge Copper, and that's going, it's going quite well. But we are competing, whether it's African Rainbow Minerals or whether it's Harmony, we are competing against some of the best companies in the world. And you've got to not just hold your own, but build a track record of success, of successively and consistently delivering competitive returns.
Can I talk about what I think is your other investment, South Africa, this country, right? Sorry, no one laughed there, I tried. Patrice, there has been quite a bit of good news for the country over the past few weeks, few months, 18 months since the GNU was formed. What is your view on where the country is right now? Because I think 2 years ago, many people wouldn't expect we'd be at where we are. How do you see it?
Well, South Africa has got enormous potential. We've got some of the best businesses, some of the best CEOs on the continent, and Elon Musk was born in South Africa, is that right?
Do we want to remember that? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. But the point is, we've got some incredible people in the private sector. We've got world-class academic institutions. We've got two major challenges. And let me start with what I regard as a very important challenge is unemployment, our youth, the poor who have no jobs. Many of our people have challenges, even those who are employed cannot make ends meet. So we have to create a country, an economy, and the private sector is key. If you look at the most successful economies in the world, they've succeeded because the private sector has identified those countries as good places to invest, good policies, whether it's legislative or fiscal or tax. The governments welcome investment. So the private sector in this country is critically important. But as I said, side by side with the private sector, we've had problems with Eskom, big problems. I mean, we made big mistakes there in the past. I mean, Eskom was a world-class electricity utility, and I mean, we should never have had load shedding. It should never have happened.
Are you confident it's in the past, though, right now?
Well, without a doubt. And why I'm saying that is because part of the mistake we've done in the past is that we would employ people either because, I don't know, the person who employs likes you, or you are my uncle, or my, you know.
Are you referring to corruption?
Well, meritocracy.
Okay.
I mean, meritocracy is non-negotiable.
Okay.
Corruption is non-negotiable. And of course, part of our challenges is crime. I mean, we can make billions of dollars on tourism. But, you know, when I was at the FII in Saudi, a few weeks ago, I was in Silicon Valley because we spent a lot of time trying to learn and see where, you know, this AI, artificial intelligence, technology, generative AI, and its impact not just on economies but countries and the future. So one of the biggest companies, the CEO said to me, "We want to come to South Africa and open a business." It's a company.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and he said to me, "But is it safe? Because you know, I need to bring some of my smartest people, and we want to make sure that their families are safe." So it's a reflection of the bad name and the bad reputation that we've built over many years. And we have to be more effective in making sure that our crime levels come down enormously. And the perception worldwide of South Africa as a good place for investment is attractive.
Would you say that's the biggest concern right now for the country is the perception? There's, of course, the elephant in the room. The U.S. president is not coming this week for, you know, his own allegations about the country. Is it a perception issue about South Africa? Is it an infrastructure issue? Where do you think the improvements start?
Well, there are two issues. You know, perception has an almost determinative influence on people's views. And what we have to do is consistently make sure, and it starts with our people, the business people, our families in South Africa, making sure that they feel that this is a safe country. And, you know, I've got many friends who say to me that, you know, I went to Cape Town, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I went to Johannesburg, I was told don't walk around, it's not safe, and it's very safe. And then you have, you know, criminals attacking going to a restaurant or kidnapping. And, you know, if you've got crime in America, America is a developed economy, Europe is a developed economy, we are a developing economy. So we've got to make sure that the perceptions and the perspectives about South Africa as an investment destination, that those views are very good for us. But that's based on what we do, because, you know, there's a lot of work that we have to do. And there's good things that we are doing, but there's still a lot of challenges that confront us.
Does the relationship with the U.S. concern you?
Well, you know, I heard the minister saying that there's 200,000 South Africans who are employed by American companies. It's very important. In a country where we've got so much unemployment, we are doing everything possible in the private sector, and also to the extent that we work together with government to make sure that every single business, whether it's American, European, Indian, Chinese, or Brazilian, finds this to be a good place to be. And we will continue, for us in the private sector, we will continue building good ties. It's very important. With Europe, with America, with Asia. And I'm optimistic that after the elections, because this is a bad time, you know, the midterm elections in America, everything is very politicized. So we will continue to engage with America because America is a very important investment partner, but also the values that America stands for: democracy, freedom of speech, entrepreneurship. Those are the sort of values that we want to transcend and transfer and give to our children and to the rest of the continent.
Patrice, can we also talk about your other job, which is the Confederation of African Football? You took this over when it was about $140 million in debt, correct?
What, you mean Zimbabwean dollars or American?
I know, I probably should have clarified, right?
Yes.
No, US dollars. Now the Federation is profitable, you have more sponsors, it's becoming really a global brand. You're in your second term. What about this has been the turnaround story? I mean, why did you want to take this on, and where do you see it going?
Well, I've taken on many responsibilities that are unintelligent, and the football one, I think, was more than unintelligent. I can't say it was stupid, but it was.
It's paying off now, though.
It was. I love football, but it was also, I think, more important than just the love I have for football was the youth. The young people in the continent, and how it's important for us to keep engaging them and hear how they see their countries and the continent, and what can we do in terms of building a bright future for them: education, skills and expertise, STEM education, technology is a key issue. And there is no force that is as powerful as football, or soccer, as you would say, in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And of course, but the other thing as well was, we were very clear that if we introduce a culture of zero tolerance of corruption in football, that culture of zero tolerance of corruption would transcend into governments in Africa and bureaucracies and how those civil societies function. So I'm enormously excited that we had to bring the sort of private sector principles of efficiency, productivity, competitiveness, employ the smartest and the best, pay them very well.
Yeah.
Because good people don't have to work for you. You've got to make sure that they enjoy the work, but also make sure that you pay them competitively. And it's the economy of Côte d'Ivoire benefited to the value of 1.5 billion because of the soccer competition or football competition we had, and we're going to have another big competition on the continent. But just one final issue is that we also use soccer or football to unite our people from different racial backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, and different religious backgrounds.
You're targeting $1 billion in profits over the next 8 years. How do you get there?
Well, it's $1 billion of, I like the word profits, but it's $1 billion that we will make available for football development in the 54 countries in Africa. And and of course, people love rugby. You know, we are involved in the Blue Bulls as a family, and we love football. The family owns a football club that loses a lot, but hopefully sometimes they win as well. They've been the champions for the last few years. But football is a force for good, just like philanthropy and music as well.
Are you on track for that goal right now?
Yes, we are. But I was going to serve only for 4 years and then leave. And when the sponsors and the partners said, if you leave, we leave with you. And I was worried because I'd sacrificed, and we had all sacrificed. Organizations and companies don't succeed exclusively because of the leaders, because of the quality of people that they work with. So I'm excited. It's gone exceptionally well.
So you're continuing on in your term?
Well, as I said, I was going to be there for 4 years, but when it became clear that our legacy was going to be undermined, so I decided to hang around and, but again, surround myself and get a succession plan in place.
I want to just finish on, because you mentioned serve, and there's quite a bit of discussion about you potentially serving.
Serving? You mean, serving in tennis?
It can mean a lot of different things, right? I should clarify. In 2027, President of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, his term is ending, as well as the ANC presidency, President Ramaphosa. Are you considering either of these?
You know, there's a gentleman called Tokyo. And Tokyo was on a major radio station a few months ago, and they asked him whether I would make myself available to be president of, I don't know, president of what. And Tokyo said, but 20 years ago, we asked Patrice where they would stand to be, they asked the question whether they would enter politics and be president of, president. And
just president.
And at the time I said, and I'd forgotten, I said, I'm not mad. And they asked Tokyo, was he right when he said he wasn't mad? Tokyo said, he most probably was correct. But the point I want to make, which is more serious, is, you know, this country has been so good to us as a family, and we've got an enormous obligation to the people of this country, and of course to the people of the continent as well. But, and I said this 5 years ago, I don't have to enter into politics to fulfill that enormous obligation that we have as a family. And in fact, I actually find that, you know, we work with all political parties. And we have a duty to all South Africans, irrespective of the political parties they come from or they support. So it's, we need to unite South Africans and work together and make this the best country in the world.
So unequivocally, you are not running for president of South Africa?
Well, my answer remains the same. I don't have to enter into politics.
Okay. And president of FIFA?
Yes, I told him FIFA doesn't excite me, you know.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. Gianni is I love FIFA. Yeah. I love football all over the world. Gianni is doing an excellent work, and we will support him, and I'm going to support him. But Africa excited me, you know, because FIFA doesn't need me. There are many brilliant people who can be presidents of FIFA and do an excellent job. Africa excited me because at the time there was so much corruption, the organization was bankrupt, big problems, and you know, with the support and the partnership with everybody, we've really put it on an exciting path. But you know, we'll be around. I love philanthropy, you know, and we are grateful that Bloomberg is here. And as I said, this country and this continent has got exceptional people. We'll do well. The continent will succeed, and the future is bright.
All right. Patrice Motsepe, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.